Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. This channel breaks down communication skills such as public speaking, storytelling, mindset, and much more. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button right down below so you join the tribe. This episode is going to speak about how to break bad habits. To learn something showcases the power of your mind. To unlearn something showcases the power of your heart. If you are someone that has a lot of bad habits, and at this point it's teetering towards addiction, then you have to do a lot of unlearning. And in terms of this unlearning, you can't just use raw, crude intellect, just reasoning skills. You're not going to reason your way out of breaking the bad habits. So what I do, Armani, what's the solution? The solution is that you need to understand your emotions. You need to use your emotions to showcase the power of your heart. If you use your emotions correctly, you're going to be able to bulldoze through this journey. You're going to be able to gradually melt away a lot of these bad habits that you've accumulated after a certain period of time. Why, Armani, are you speaking about bad habits in this episode? Because this channel does discuss communication skills. How does bad habits tie into communication skills? Everything ties into communication skills. Communication skills is what we call the holistic process of life. So let's say you are a chronic masturbator, just watching porn nonstop. Let's say you are struggling with alcohol. And let's say you're also someone who eats a lot of junk food. A mix of these three is going to take away from your presence. It's going to take away from your power, making your life much more difficult. So this is a journey that we need to start taking now. Bad habits alone aren't bad in general. We all have vices. But when it's starting to take over your life, that's when you need to showcase the power of your heart. So what we want to start off by doing in order to break bad habits is to understand that it's going to be a journey. You took a lot of steps to get to this point, and your neural pathways has a lot of strengthened neural pathways for these bad habits. So what we want to start off doing is setting the right expectations. We don't want this journey to be in our mind thinking, oh, well, it's only going to take 2-3 weeks to break these bad habits. No. How long did you take to get to this point? Be realistic. If you're someone who has been drinking nonstop alcohol for 5 to 6 years, then you have 5 to 6 years worth of neural pathways to work with. So by taking the right perspective from the beginning stages, you have realistic expectations. And with realistic expectations, roadblocks aren't going to rattle you as much. You're not going to quit so fast. So start off by setting the right expectations. How long did it take you to get to this level? And make that a rough estimate for how long it's going to take you to overcome this. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to use possession language, where we take all the blame from the get-go. A lot of people are going to fail with this. What they're going to say is, well, trust me, I wouldn't be drinking a lot of alcohol if my friends weren't so boring. If you had boring friends like mine, you'd be an alcoholic as well. You don't want to use language like that because you're shifting the blame away from you. You want to get to that level where you take full ownership of this issue. Why, Armani? Why can't I point fingers? Because, like we said, we are playing with our emotions now. When we take accountability from the beginning stages, what happens is that we associate a negativity towards ourselves. And this engages shame. Shame gets a bad rep, but shame is a powerful use to drive action. Think about it. A lot of the most brilliant people in the world, they felt massive shame at one point, which drove them to change their life. Ambition is born through a polarity. It's not just about hoping that you have a great future. It's about hoping that you have a great future and working on it because you're running away from something dark. A polarity between those two emotions creates ambition. So even though it's going to sting right now to use possession language and take all the blame, it's unlocking something greater. And it's going to showcase, once again, unlearning, which showcases the power of your heart. So that's two. The first thing that we did is we set the expectations. The second thing we did is we took all the blame. The third thing that we need to start doing is we need to associate the effects after we do the bad habit with the act in itself. So what does this exactly mean? What this means is, let's use the example of alcohol again. The reason you are consistently drinking alcohol is because your subconscious mind is associating the beginning feelings. You're thinking about the pleasure, the good stuff, feeling light, feeling easy. And this is causing you to keep drinking more and more and more because positive emotions are associated with the bad habit. What we want to start doing is associating the negative emotions to the act. So instead of thinking about all the feelings you feel before drinking, think about all the feelings that you feel after drinking. The hangovers, missing appointments in the morning because you're too tired, you're too sleepy, the dehydration, feeling grumpy. You want to get as vivid and as detailed as you can and associate all those negative feelings with the act of drinking alcohol. And the more vivid that you get, the more that you're creating negative associations for this act. You got to this point because it's not as though you're just a casual drinker who drinks every now and then. You're most likely one of those people that gets completely hammered and makes a fool out of yourself. So you got to get extremely detailed with the effects you feel after. Okay? Even with, say, you have pornography addiction. In cases like this, you want to feel all the sensations you feel after, like the shame, feeling light, feeling small, all that, and associated with that act. This engages the subconscious mind and starts to attach a negative connotation to this act. You want to keep cultivating it. It's sort of like you're planting a seed, and the more negative emotions that you keep reminding yourself of with this act, it's equivalent to you watering this seed. So that's number 3, associate all the negative emotions. All right, Armani, thanks, appreciate it. I'm good to go. Nope, because we didn't talk about step 4 yet. The thing with bad habits is it's extremely difficult to just drop it cold turkey. Some people have the willpower to do it, but for the most part, you need to have a replacement activity. All these neural pathways that you have, not only are you weakening it, but you're replacing it with a better act. So what is step 4 going to be? What is your replacement act going to be? This is something that's personal to you, but you want to get something that is going to make your life better in some way, shape, or form. I had a friend who was able to quit smoking with the replacement act of reading. He loved comic books ever since he was a little kid, and anytime he wanted to smoke a cigarette, he would read a comic book instead. And eventually he started to read Harry Potter, he started to read Lord of the Rings. And what this did for him was he was able to cultivate the habit of reading, but it also made him more creative, which allowed him to start a blog. So look at all these tiered effects by picking up the habit of reading to replace smoking. Another individual I know was able to pick up lifting. Anytime they wanted to do that bad habit, rather they would start doing push-ups, they would go to the gym, and they wrapped their lifestyle around lifting a lot of weights, which allowed them to feel sensations within, made them stronger, made them look better. Their clothes nowadays fit well. But this was another replacement habit that was suitable for their life. And it was able to take over the other neural pathways. So you want to just keep looking for these different acts that can make your life a little bit better. In Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki talks about the difference between assets and liabilities. Assets put money in your pockets, liabilities take money away from your pocket. But when you look closer, this principle isn't just valid for money. You could also apply this principle for habits. An asset in terms of habits is making your life a little bit better. A liability in terms of habits is making it a little bit worse. And if our life is becoming a little bit worse, it's a liability habit. So we want to find that asset habit that suits us. For me, it's doing these videos. It's some form of content creation, which is something that allows me to stay creative. It allows me to work on my communication skills. It allows me to improve my body language. All these effects that can weigh out a bad habit. So if you don't know where to start, you could always start making YouTube videos. And that's about it. These are the 4 steps into breaking bad habits. We want to set the correct expectations. We want to take all the blame, every single last bit of it. We want to associate how we feel after doing this bad habit, all the negative sensations, get super detailed, associated with this act. And anytime we want to do this act, we want to have a positive habit that we can replace with this bad habit. As time goes on by, the bad neural pathways are going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. We're trying our best to starve it. And we're going to get all that energy and keep feeding it to the good habit. And those neural pathways are going to start taking over. We're going to start feeling better. And the holistic process of communication skills is finally going to start making sense. A great communicator sees the spider in things, sees the spider web, sees how everything is interconnected. It's a bad habit for 1 second, but this bad habit is impacting your influence, impacting your ability to enunciate, is making you a head communicator. One of those communicators that speaks with their chest voice all nasally. All that stuff because you have bad habits. Fix those bad habits with the 4 frameworks that I discussed in today's episode and level up your life. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to drop that like for me right on below, and you shared this video on your social media of choice. Thank you for joining the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'll catch you on the next episode.